together, they bring up the human harmonics or energies so that they can maintain the human form.
Some people I've looked at have what I've always thought to be reptilian-looking eyes.
Yes.
Can they, these shapeshifters, can they hide the eyes?
Yes, they can, but when they get very angry or they get very intense, the eyes shift. And you can see this a lot.
They get yellow or they get black.
And they look like slits, instead of the round pupils. And you can see that this happens sometimes on TV. If you look at sometimes some of the government officials when they're speaking, on occasion you can see that happen briefly. And you have to ask yourself, and you look at all these skin conditions that these leaders have, where suddenly they're going to the hospital, getting skin lesions removed, et cetera, and that's when you shapeshift frequently. The body then starts to lose the genetic memory of what shape am I. So very often when they go back to human form, there's a spot or two here or there that maintains reptilian form, and then they have to cover that up.
Give me a painted picture here, Stuart, of what a reptilian looks like.
There are...
I'm picturing a crocodile. Maybe that's not right. Huh?
Well, that's not exactly right, but... we know that there are 7 different species within the Draco Empire or hierarchy. And interestingly, when the Soviet Union sent a vehicle to Venus in the 1980s to actually go below the cloud layer and shoot pictures before the heat destroyed the camera,
right,
it sent back a picture of the surface with 7 domed areas in a row.
We never saw those pictures.
We didn't see the pictures, but in American newspapers, there was an article on it in the late 1980s that said that there were these 7 domed areas, and it went on and on to describe them as being unusual. And then the very end, as par for the course, it said that NASA determined that these 7 domed areas were natural formations. Of course, they're not going to say what they really are. If you know about reptilian culture and you know about the 7 species and there's a hierarchy, they don't mix together, it would make very good sense that when you colonize an area, you have separate living quarters for each of the species. And so the different species look like the very high or elite group are very tall, white-skinned reptilians with blue eyes, and they sometimes have been known to have wings on the back.
Reptilian-type skin?
Yes, it's not exactly as scaly as you would see on a crocodile or an alligator, but it's very rough skin that looks as if it's segmented in places.
What about their faces?
The faces can look very human-like or humanoid. They have 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, but the reptilian have that what I call cat eyes. They look like cat eyes, and they have a very pronounced jaw and very pronounced teeth. And they have very powerful bodies, especially the elite group, the top of the hierarchy. And when you go down the hierarchy to the bottom, there's a shorter version. There's a kind of reptilian that's only 4.5 feet tall. It's kind of brown skin, very slight. They're very much like workers or drones that would do the grunt work or the what we would call the untouchables in Hindu society.
All right. Well, this picture that we've all seen of the devil, who could have been a reptilian, where did that come from? The longer tail and the horns.
That comes from the ancient perception of what a reptilian being looks like, and very often they do have horns. Not all of them do, but some of them do.
Maybe a senior group or something like that?
The myth version, there's a warrior caste that tends to have the horns, and they're very bulky, very aggressive. You wouldn't want to meet one of them.
Would they be the ones, though, to lead the pack? Or the other ones?
They would be what you call an advance guard. They'd be the ones you'd send out when you're invading a planet or an area. And they're very volatile. And, there's a difference in sometimes how they use human appearance, because the shapeshifters can physically change to human form. However, there are reptilians that are not, of course, able to do that because they're purebred. They don't have human genetics. What they sometimes have is a device around their waist that creates a holographic image around them that makes them appear human. But they're not shape-shifting. It's just a holographic image that's projected around them.
Well, that could be, I guess, altered, or it could be breached, right? If somebody tried to touch them or something, it'd be like going through a hologram?
Yes, and I did witness that in Montauk Project, because there were reptilians occasionally there, but these were not shapeshifters. These were real 100% reptilians, and in order to not terrify a lot of the people, they would sometimes use this holographic image around them.
Do you believe that the Illuminati, the power brokers on this planet, the very wealthy families, that they could be from this reptilian strain?
They are. In fact, the Illuminati are made up of 13 ruling families, and all of them can trace their ancestry to the hybridization program that really went back to the Sumerian times.
So they're human beings, but they have reptilian
a
DNA.
Very high percentage of reptilian genetics, yes.
Amazing. Are they shapeshifters, or they actually look this way?
Some are. Not all of them are shapeshifters. It depends on the exact 50-50 split of genetics. So there are some who do not shapeshift, but still are in the elite group. And the reason they call themselves blue bloods is because reptilian blood has a very high copper content. And when copper oxidizes, it looks like a blue-green color. Mm-hmm. And that is why they've been called blue bloods over the centuries.
You know, just last week I had a story of a guy who had green blood in his system.
Oh, yeah, that was in Vancouver.
Yeah. I mean, could he be?
Well, you see, here's what's happening now. They're very methodically releasing information about this to the public. And this is one of the stories. Now, the cover story to that was the man had some kind of disease where his blood would not accept oxygen.
Right, exactly.
Well, hello, if that was the case, he'd be dead. He wouldn't be operating on him because he would have no oxygen. The cells would have died. So, of course, that was just a cover story. You know, if he had green blood, and, of course, in the article that they mentioned, the Canadian Free Press, they compared him to Spock on Star Trek. So there's, again, the alien connection that the conventional media is giving out to the public. We're in a period of time now where they are disseminating information about the alien presence on the Earth, but they're doing it in such a way that people can accept. They're not going to tell the absolute truth about who the reptilians are and what's going on. They're going to create...
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're going to create a staged alien invasion. And when that happens, they're going to have a savior race come and help us, who will turn out to be the reptilians. And then, of course, the reptilians will announce that they were the colonists on the Earth, and they're part of us, and we're part of them. And it becomes an integrated process then.
How bizarre. My gosh, Stuart, that's going to change the entire complexity of this planet.
Well, that's correct. And that's kind of what I was leading to before about the Illuminati agenda, or the hybrid agenda, is that they're trying to create their own galactic empire using the Earth as a home base, which is a bit contrary to what the reptilian race wanted originally.
Are these the ones that want the population reduced to 500 million?
Well, see, I don't agree with that story, because what I know is that they're in the process of creating Earth-like environments in the moons of Jupiter and Saturn to move the population. They're not going to... They didn't spend millennia of time creating this vast slave race to destroy it. They're going to use it in wherever they see fit.
Are you saying they're going to cattle cow humans, take them on craft, much like that To Serve Man Twilight Zone show where they ate them, they cooked them.
Right.
But basically to put them on craft and take them to other planets and celestial objects?
Well, that's bottom lining it, but yes, that's ultimately what will be happening.
When will this occur?
Well, I feel that will occur sometime after 2010. And we're already getting prepared for it. They're already talking about finding Earth-like planets out in other solar systems. They're already talking about various objects in space that are unknown and strange. They're preparing the population for the assimilation into a galactic mindset.
What an incredible possibility, Stuart.
Well,
how do we fight it?
Well, that's just it, and that's why I do the work that I do. I consider it an obligation because of the things I participated in the Montauk Project.
I'm not a reptilian, am I?
We all have reptilian DNA. All humans on this planet have reptilian DNA. It's a question of percentages. Most humans have between 10 and 15% reptilian DNA. That's why we have a lymphatic reptilian system. We have skin that wrinkles and peels. We have a lot of reptilian characteristics in our bodies, and that comes from that hybridization that occurred eons ago. So yes, we're all part reptilian. And as I mentioned earlier, you can see that in the gestation of a person in the human womb.
If they were confused as gods, that does not negate a god, right?
Correct. There is God. There is a God mind. It permeates all things. Nothing can exist without it. And when we look at DNA, we see that 97% of all DNA, and it doesn't matter if you're a human, an elephant, an alien, or a plant, science calls it junk DNA.